Hi, I'm E.D. Lewis, and welcome back to my channel for another Dark Shadows review. Let me readjust here a little bit so I don't get the glare in my glasses. Before we get started, maybe we'll just take my glasses off. Before we get started, please hit that like and that subscribe button, and also hit that little bell so you get subscription notifications for my new current videos that are up and going. And we're heading into tonight's review for another nocturnal review. Alright, this is the second review for the 55th anniversary of Dark Shadows that I have for this month. And for this one, I'm doing an actual novel. Last time I did the Dark Shadows Dynamite Comics Dark Shadows Year 1. This week I am this time around, because doing a different video every week, we're doing The Salem Branch by Lara Parker. It is actually Lara Parker's second book, and, kind of furthers her Dark Shadow series. She has 4 books. I don't know if she's going to do a 5th one. I would really like to see a 5th one. I've only read the first 2. I started reading her 3rd one, and I didn't get very far. It was one of those times when school got in the way. I was actually in college at the time, and so I didn't get to. Now, I have her 4th book also. I got it for Christmas, and have not, I think it was Christmas, or my birthday. I don't know, but I haven't gotten around to reading it, and I am very eager for it too, so one of these days I'll get around to both those. But anyway, we're doing The Salem Branch, and this book actually has 2 covers, just like the original book by Lara Parker, Angelique's Descent, and focuses a lot on Angelique. So here's the original cover, which is when I first read it in, I think 2007 is when I read it, or maybe it was 2008. But this book came out in 2006. It is a gothic romance, gothic horror story. Of course, there's Barnabas, if you can see him. Let's see if we can do a close-up. There he is. There's Barnabas. Of course, Angelique's up here. That's a great picture. I love it. And on the back, we have Barnabas down here and a picture of Lara Parker up there. At the time she'd written the book, and young Lara Parker. Yeah. And then around the time the movie came out in 2012, they actually had this in stores, and it was a mass market paperback edition with the current cover for The Salem Branch. And we have Angelique right there. And on the back, a different picture of Lara Parker, more current. So those are both the book covers. I have them both. I had to have both of them. This is the one that goes on my shelf, though. This is the one I actually had put away. Because I do have some duplicate Dark Shadows books. Not very many, but there are a few, and that's one of them. So anyway, getting on with it. How far we gotten into this video? Okay, we're doing not too bad. Excuse me. So, like I said, it's a sequel to Angelique's Descent, so if you haven't checked out that review, I will link it down below, as well as also link my previous review down below as well. So, it picks up pretty much not too awful long after Angelique's Descent picked up, because if you remember from that story, Barnabas discovered Angelique's diary, and he was reading it, and we also got to see Angelique's past firsthand through her eyes as a child and growing up in Martinique, and then, meeting Barnabas, and then re-meeting him, and kind of re-meeting him again, officially, and then, her seduction of Barnabas, from Barnabas, and then her betrayal of, from Barnabas, and what, took her down a really dark path, and that stuff, so. And then, this woman coming and buying, the charred remains of the old house. Since, what happened to the old house in the previous one without giving anything away. Or too much away, anyway. So, Barnabas Collins continues to build his new life free from the curse of the vampire. He is haunted by the likeness of the old house's new owner, Antoinette, Tony, I think it's pronounced Harpeniers? Harpenies? I think it's Harpenier. I'm not sure. And her likeness to his old love and creator of the curse, Angelique. I did write this synopsis, by the way. As he and Willie investigate the old house, I skipped a line, that's why. They find a body, apparently a victim of a vampire in the old house basement. Meanwhile, young David Collins makes friends with Tony's daughter, Jacqueline, who seems to have a connection to a woman who was convicted of witchcraft in Salem during the famous witch trials almost 300 years prior. So that's my little synopsis, and yes, I did mess up a little bit. I changed a couple of the words by mistake there, but I got the point across. So that is the basic premise for the book, Angelique's Descent. Because, Barnabas is, trying to adjust more to, his current cure. Dr. Hoffman's still working on it to completely cure him. He has trouble with food, since he hasn't had to eat it for a long time. Not since the last time he'd been cured in, 1968? And it takes place in 1971, I believe. Let me double check that. Yeah, I reread this, I think, last year. Yeah, it was last year I reread this. Was it the year before? I'm pretty sure it was last year. So it takes place in 1971. And also in 1692. I almost said 95. Kind of like the previous book that Lara Parker had written, which took place, in 1971. And then also in the 1700s during Angelique's childhood and into her early 20s. So this book picks up there, like I said, in 1971, and it does go back and forth, but there's no diary this time. Instead, it's the girl Jacqueline. She's kind of the link to the past, unlike the diary that was the link in the previous book. And there is a time travel element. We actually do get to go back in time. Some of the characters, not saying what characters, get to go back in time to 1692 very briefly, and they get to witness firsthand some of the events. Lara Parker did use some of the show, not as much though, because there wasn't as much on the show that we actually got to physically see. During the 1840 flashback, when Barnabas and Dr. Julia Hoffman, had traveled back in time to try and prevent the destruction of Collinwood in 1970. They do re-meet Angelique, and this is giving you a little bit of background here. She's confronted by a man named Gerard Stiles, who is possessed by the spirit of Judah Zachary, and he refers to her as Miranda. And she's astonished, she's shocked, because she has not heard the name or been referred to by Miranda in a long time. Because in 1692, in her original incarnation, she was Miranda Duval, the witch girl, in other words. Kind of like how Lara Parker refers to her in one of her advertisements. She refers to Miranda Duval as the witch girl. But in the original series, though, they never indicate that was in Salem. They talk about was it Bedlam or Bedford? I'm not sure. One of those two towns. It's been a while since I watched that. As the impression where I got where it took place. I think Lara Parker made the connection to Salem. And there is a special called Dark Shadows in Salem, where Lara Parker actually goes to Salem. It's like a 25-minute program or so. And you get to see some of the Witch Museum. You get to see the House of the Seven Gables from the outside. And they even go into a few metaphysic shops. Or they go into one metaphysic shops. And they interview the proprietor there. I would love to go to Salem, especially during Halloween. I know that'd be the most commercial time to go. and very touristy, but I just think it'd be, the atmosphere would be at the highest, the veil will be the thinnest, if you believe in spirits. And I just think it would be a really cool atmosphere to go at that time, but I'd love to go to Salem anytime, really. Just preferably Halloween. And actually, I do believe they go to Salem around Halloween. David and Barnabas do travel there, because he starts to take David up as kind of his, kind of mentoring David, in a way, because he's the future of the family. And they do take a trip to Salem and stuff, and around Halloween time, and then Barnabas does return on Halloween night to Salem as well. But, there is kind of an issue I have with Barnabas, though, and he kind of takes a lot, he struggled all this time with Angelique, and yet he keeps still being drawn to her. It's like he never seems to learn, and, he's drawn to Antoinette, which there's a bit of a rivalry, because she's kind of seeing Quentin at the time. So there's a rivalry that brews between Quentin and Barnabas, and then on top of this, David is really interested in Jacqueline. So this may be one of the first times that he actually really takes an interest in a girl, because, there was Amy Jennings. It was more of a brother-sister like relationship, and then Hallie Stokes and him was, again, more like a brother-sister, kind of just friends relationship, so. And he's like 15, so he's really starting to notice girls now. So there's kind of that love setup there. And of course, there's the love triangle. There's like two love triangles going on here because there's Quentin, Antoinette, and Barnabas, and then there's Barnabas, Julia, and Antoinette. So, because, Barnabas, he's engaged to Julia, but he keeps being drawn to this woman who looks just like Angelique. It's like the past keeps repeating itself at Collinwood. But it's an awesome book. It's really good. And also, there's a little bit of the 60s and early 70s nostalgia here, because not only does it take place in that time, but also there are hippies. Hippies that are living in the woods outside the old house that Antoinette is actually invited there. They're her friends. So there's hippies camping out in the woods, and there's a little time spent with them and stuff. So anyway, that's my review of the book. I really enjoyed it both times I read it, and I probably will read it again. And I really need to get on and read the next book in her series. So, even though she breaks continuity, because I'm pretty sure the 1692 stuff that happened, that they're referring to with Miranda Duvall, was not in Salem. It was actually in Bedford, or Bedlam, whichever it was. With the whole Judah Zachary thing. But she knows how to weave a good story. So, I give her that, and she helps keep Dark Shadows alive. So, anyway, that's my review. I will see you next time with actually my Dracula review. That'll be my next video. So, I'll have another Dracula review, and then I will see you after that with another Dark Shadows review. The last one that I have for the month. So, I'll see you then. So, stay safe and, stay cool, since it's now getting hot and stuff, and I've already bared the weight of that yesterday. So, I'll see you around. Bye-bye.